right, we're good to go then. I'd like to call this meeting of the Whately Selectboard to order at 6:01 p.m. on Wednesday, March 11th. Our first order of business is to review and vote on the meeting minutes from previous meetings.
There was an error on the top. You can see I crossed off the February 11th date. It should be February 25th.
Okay,
So I'll make that adjustment on the online version.
okay. Great. Are there any other comments or revisions that anybody is going to suggest?
No.
No,
not here.
me.
Okay, I can
Approve.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. The vendor and payroll warrants and also there for the review. Is there any comments on those?
No comments.
Okay, great. Public comment? Is there anyone either on our Zoom or in the room who would like to make any comment on items not on the agenda?
Doing a great job.
Oh, right, thank you, thank you. All right, I'm not seeing any hands up on the Zoom. So under old business, we were gonna discuss and vote on potential town responses to recent national events. But my understanding is
It's still in process
still in
because
process.
things change on a daily
they
basis.
sure
Things that
do.
need responding to more quickly.
They move more
Right.
quickly than any kind of response.
Yes.
So,
Okay, so let's put
Table
that
it for
on
next
next agenda. And see about that. All right, hey, we are cruising
yeah,
through this agenda, baby. All right, the next item might not be as quick a cruise. We have our first draft of our annual town meeting warrant, which at this date is likely to have many changes and improvements as we go through. But it's but there's a lot, but I think this is a good time for us to get familiar with what's gonna be on there. There might be things added, there might be things taken out. But this is, I like that this is on the agenda already, even though we're a couple months away from our town meeting. So maybe Pete, help us run through this.
Yeah, so I'll go through each article. A number of these articles are standard articles. The first one is accepting the reports of town, article one being accepting the reports of town boards and committees. Standard first article. Sure there's no comment on that one. Article two, this is the article that we use every year in order to authorize the town treasurer to borrow money in anticipation of revenues. It just gives that the ability for that treasurer to take those financial actions when needed. The third article is also standard article. This is to authorize the select board to enter into any contracts for goods and services with a duration of over 3 years, as allowed by Mass General Law. Article 4 is the article, again, another routine article, to allow the town treasurer to enter into banking agreements with banks within Massachusetts. We would maintain our current banks, but it allows us to create new accounts should we need to. Article 5. This is to authorize the town to be able to apply for grants, both federal, well, also regards to federal, state, and private grants, and to allow the town treasurer to borrow in anticipation of reimbursements, which is again another routine article that we do. Article 6. Every year we reestablish or establish the spending limits for every one of our revolving funds. These are the standing spending limits. The new fire department revolving fund is now in here at the $25,000 spending limit that was approved last year. So no recommended changes unless the board has any, but none of the departments that handle these revolving funds have asked for a spending limit increase yet.
Okay.
And again, the spending limit, they could never spend more than their revolving fund has anyways, but it's also a way to set a limit so that they aren't always hitting the cap of what their revolving fund has. Article 7, this is a routine article. It sets the stipends and compensations for elected officials. We once the finance committee agrees to what the COLA is, that COLA will then be applied to all of these stipends.
One comment on that, I think the date is wrong. It says July 1st, 2025.
Yes. Okay. Article 8, this is the article to appropriate the budget for the water department. This is these are the current numbers that I have, but of course these might change. Especially the indirect expenses. They always pay a percentage of these particular department expenses, and if those department line items change, then their indirect expense will change. So I will obviously update these as we continue through the budget season. Which is also true for the very next article, which is the town operating budget. These numbers essentially are placeholder there as of March last week. It would have been last
Yeah.
Friday. So but again, these change.
Right. None of these are voted. on.
None of these are set in
Or,
stone
I
yet.
should say recommended by the finance
Yeah.
committee yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Article 10. This is the article in order to pay prior fiscal year bills. There are 3 invoices from previous fiscal years. The first one is from FY 24 of $982, which was a bill for the water department. There was a $385 bill in FY 25 for legal services related to town treasurer and tax filings. And then also a $49.42 bill at the very end of FY 25. Unfortunately, it didn't hit 26, so we had to wait until we get town meeting approval, but it's for shredding services for the town clerk for records. So a total of $1,462.42.
Okay.
11, I just have as a placeholder. It is, should we use free cash to pay down the tax levy? This is the article that we would use for that.
And we've had that pretty much every year, so we should expect it will be.
Yeah. Article 12, same thing, a placeholder. If the finance committee wants to use free cash towards vehicle stabilization, we typically do, just no dollar amount yet. Again, Article 13 is capital stabilization. Once there's a recommendation, that dollar amount will be filled in. Article 14, this is the one requested by the school department. Similar to last year, we used free cash to pay the sick leave buyback for retiring school department employees. This year it's $40,000. So we have that set aside as a separate article rather than within their operating budget. So we do know the dollar amount at least. Just waiting for recommendation from FinCom. Article 15 is the article for capital projects. Currently, I have listed every capital project that's requested. Finance committee has not recommended any of these being funded yet, but it's essentially just a placeholder. And if there is borrowing necessary, it's a 2/3 vote. Otherwise, if it's free cash or other funding, it's just a majority.
Yeah, the only question I have on that is the police cruiser. I know we don't quite, I think we have 58,000 in the vehicle stabilization right now, which is what we would usually use for police cruisers rather than free cash.
Right. Yeah, everything about the funding source is placeholder because the finance committee has not determined how we're gonna fund any of these if they're getting funded.
Yeah.
Article 16, this is the standard article for setting the appropriation for the community preservation budget. They are meeting today. They're meeting today, so we should have their requested numbers probably tomorrow, and so next time you review this will be updated.
Yeah.
Articles 17 and 18, these are in tandem. This is based on previous conversations that have happened. This is totally up to the select board if you want to move forward with this. if we were to move the town clerk from a elected position to an appointed position, it requires 2 steps. The first, well, 3 steps really. The first is town meeting has to say, yes, we're in agreement, put this on the next election ballot for the voters to vote on, because town meeting has to agree, but then the voters have to agree. And with that, we also then would have to amend our general bylaw. So Article 17 is asking town meeting, do you want to make this transition? And if so, do you agree to put it on the next election? And Article 18 says, we will amend the general bylaws in this manner should town meeting and town election agree. The general bylaw amendment would not be submitted to the AG until after town election happened. So both articles have to go in the affirmative. Actually, 18 wouldn't even have to be acted on for it to go to town election. Only Article 17 would trigger a town election.
Yeah. Sorry, but might as well put that in at the same time.
Yeah,
And it's, but Article 18, if I understood what you said, is contingent on Article 17 passing.
yes, yep.
In the packet for annual town meeting, is there explanation of why? We or the clerk would like that position to be appointed other than elected.
There could be, there is no packet yet.
Right.
Can you
So,
explain now? Is that
sure, I mean, the town clerk didn't request it.
Okay,
Yeah.
The general thought process here is. With the position being an appointed position, it's more flexible for the board, the appointing authority, to go and fill a vacancy should the current town or any town clerk in the future leave, just like any other of our appointed
appointed
positions.
position, okay.
It then also gives greater oversight. The board then has the ability to, the employee or the appointed individual will fall under our personnel policies. They then will be reporting to the select board. So there is that oversight that you gain, as opposed to just the general elector, the electing body.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I remember having this conversation was when we were like, well, you know, Lynn's not gonna be town clerk. Is there anybody who can do this? Who is a resident of Whately, because to get on the ballot for Whately, you gotta be a resident of Whately. So do we have a stockpile of residents with the will, both the will and the skill
Yeah,
to do that? And you don't necessarily have to have all the courses and accreditation and so on to start the job, but it sure would help. And we definitely want town clerks who are well trained. And then if you remember the last, let's say, 3 years of Brian being here, it was just one position after another. No, we can't find anybody who can be our treasurer collector who has any experience. They're not willing to do it for the amount we can pay, and just the whole, you know, finding people qualified for municipal jobs and just farm it to more openings than there were qualified.
Yeah.
And then to have, in addition to that, have the restriction that you must be a Whately resident means I think we might be in trouble for finding, I mean, our current town clerk, as far as I understand, is doing great. I love the dog. The dog contest every year, I think that's great.
the voted contest.
That
Yeah,
was
I-
a good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love so this is like no reflection on our current town clerk, but we're damn lucky she lives in Whately.
Yeah.
There are people who are well qualified who have lived in Whately. One of our assistant town clerks moved to Deerfield. She became Deerfield's assistant town clerk and then town clerk, and then I think I can't remember if she's still there or not. But they have like 3 or 4 town clerks. But we could have kept her. She could have been our town clerk when Lynn was done. So that's kind of the other issue, is that if it's on the ballot, it has to be a resident. And we've been lucky till now to have residents. I don't know if we have another resident who's kind of in line and getting some training as maybe assistant town clerk.
I think taking that step further, if you have a vacancy in that position that is up for election, you can end up with someone who just wants a job and has no qualifications whatsoever. Whately resident, just putting the name on the ballot and
Yeah, the
that's a
threshold.
job by default.
Yeah, so I think that's to me, a compelling reason, and honestly, the first time we had this conversation, when we were still at the center school. Breathing asbestos and having our meetings there, Lynn at that time was like, no, I think we should have a president, should be elected, and then by the time she was actually, we were here. And maybe it was a couple of years before Brian left. He's like, maybe that's actually something, because it just in the midst, I just remember not being able to get a treasurer collector. And not being able to get people who are qualified to, like, and the accounting, oh, we can't get a town accountant, there are like all these positions that we couldn't get a qualified person for.
Historically in Massachusetts, town clerks were elected.
Yeah,
But
that's historic.
over time, more and more towns have gone to appointed.
Yeah,
Also, they is imposing many more requirements on town clerks. It is a much more professional position than it used to be, and responsible, and there are lots of things that have to be
there are
done,
many.
that you want a professional in that job, not necessarily someone who wants a job.
Right, and people in this town remember the day, but I think when we moved here that it was no longer the case, but. You used to, when you wanted to talk to town clerk, you went to Virginia Alice's house. And she had a little desk, or she had a little cubby or something, where you did your town clerk business, and, she held her hours at her house, because we didn't even have a town office. So,
I'm sold. Thank you.
and the voters can vote it down, but,
Yeah,
that's.
Yeah,
putting it on the warrant.
Putting it out there as a. As a feeler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you're all prepped for explaining.
Okay, the next two are zoning bylaw amendments.
Mhm.
The first, it's a two-parter. The first part is establishing a battery energy storage system bylaw, which is essentially a way to regulate the siting of large-scale battery storage systems, battery systems related to solar generation. Article 20 is amendment to the existing solar electric generating facility bylaw so that it is not in conflict with the new battery storage one, because the solar one does have a couple references to battery storage. So because there's gonna be a whole new chapter just about battery storage, the solar electric have to be updated. Just some minor updates to that one. Both of these are still going through town council review. And the public hearing for these articles is the beginning of April. With the planning board.
Is there anything happening at the state level that might make either one of these obsolete before they take it? Because I know that the state is constantly updating their requirements.
That's why the planning board is holding off on having their hearing until the beginning of April, because the state is supposed to have updated recommendations and regulations by the end of this month. So hopefully it'll be in line. There is still the question whether the AG would even approve this kind of amendment, because solar and battery storage are considered now by right. They're essentially under the Dover Amendment, so that you can't deny it, and it's not about denying. The way the planning board is handling it is a way to ensure that it's properly cited on a property. But the AG has been pretty tight on allowing these kind of regulations to go through.
Yeah, I think the main concern last time we talked about it was, we don't want this cited in the aquifer protection, so.
That one
because-
still is going through AG review.
Right, exactly, but it's, that is the most important. One, I think, among the considerations that, that people in Boston don't have that. Unless we put a battery storage system in the closet.
Yeah.
Put a ring in the closet, how about that?
That is a lot of some.
Yeah.
So that's what those two zoning articles are. Article 21, this is the article that's required in order to approve a senior tax work-off program. So you did vote that you wanted to institute it.
Mhm.
It now requires town meeting to finalize that, and it's just chapter 59, section 5K, because we're only doing the senior work-off program.
Okay.
That is all the articles so far. I haven't received any other articles since this from any other departments, but if
Mhm.
you are aware of any other articles or things that you want to either look into, I can sort of act with.
On the last page of the select board signing, there will be a different select board event.
Yes,
Very good call.
yeah, well, we're not there.
We don't.
We're not there.
It's presented here.
Yes,
The,
a lot of things will be changed. This is not a final draft.
Want to make sure it gets changed when the time comes.
Yes.
No,
no, sorry, the,
April 28th.
but the term end would be after.
Actually, Joyce is correct. The terms are not being cut short. Remember, we had a discussion, so
I remember,
Joyce
I
does.
didn't remember what
But it could be,
the outcome was.
right, I think the outcome was something like, well. The person would have the opportunity to fill out their term and before
Yeah.
the next person starts. And I don't know how that would work for them having 3 years, but
Right, well, yeah, that,
I
That
feel
was
like
always my
in this
question.
case, our current moderator might step down at the earlier point. And and if that's where if I get elected to that, then I'll still be at town meeting. And I could be on both. So, it's not necessarily 100% settled. But.
Right.
Yeah.
all right,
The way that it goes is everybody that was elected prior, their term has to be honored unless they step down. If another person gets elected, essentially, we can't let them truly start until the other term ends, but they can give up they can resign early so they can start their.
Yeah, but I really want that 15-year certificate. And if I stop a couple months early, I'm just not gonna get that letter. And I'm really,
Oh, yeah, it could be,
It could be,
Royce,
yeah.
it could be somebody else. But yeah,
I,
I just sort of want to, put a post-it on that is.
Yes.
yeah,
Don't make sure that just doesn't get lived through.
okay, all right, any other discussion about the draft annual town meeting warrant?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, next, item under new business is about boards and committees. The first is to review this.
there is one vacancy on the board. Tom has stepped forward and is interested in serving as a unregistered, no, undeclared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have to be
Not,
registered.
Yeah.
Undeclared.
and I know he's very familiar with the voting procedure. I know he's been a constable at many elections and seems like he'd be well qualified to do this.
See, I move we appoint Tom Maher to the board of registrars.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Okay. To review, discuss and vote on the appointment of Insurance Advisory Committee. And can you tell us more about
Yeah,
the Insurance Advisory Committee?
so, this also gets tied into the very next item too.
Okay,
Because the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust has made a recommendation to the way our health insurance plan. The plan, there's a slight plan change. The change in plan triggers a requirement for us in order to institute it for July 1 to now negotiate with the impacted union parties, so our two school unions. With that impact bargaining, or that not impact bargaining, that negotiation on the health insurance benefit change. We have to have the first step is an insurance advisory committee. The insurance advisory committee is not a public body. It is made up of representatives from one representative from each of the unions and a town retiree, not a union retiree, just a town retiree, because retirees also are impacted by the change because we pay insurance for our retirees. So what the board needs to do is you're just appointing the retiree. The unions have already designated who their reps are going to be on that IAC. So we just need an appointment for the retiree, which Keith Bardwell has offered to do it.
I thought that was gonna be the next thing. I didn't know Keith.
It is.
Okay,
The insurance advisory committee, just so you also understand it, it's a two-step process. The IAC is an advisory committee. They do not do any negotiations. They don't changes. They are there to hear about what the change of the plan is and what our recommended mitigation is. How we're going to help support the employees that are seeing that change in the plan. That information goes from the IAC to the PEC, which is the Public Employees Committee. That PEC is a non-public body made up of representatives of each of the unions, as well as a representative from the Retiree Association. And then based on the vote last week or previously, nope, based on the vote that we're going to have next, there will be a town representation on that bargaining with the PEC, myself, a board member, or myself and a board member. And that's how we'll then determine how we can utilize the savings for the benefit of the employees. So it is a two-step process, but right now, just asking for you to vote in an appointee for the retiree representative. I will then be holding the IAC meeting next Friday to then present that proposal, and then we'll immediately move to a PEC, the Public Employee Committee, so we can start negotiations.
okay.
Cool. I move that the board appoint Keith Bardwell as the retiree representative to the Insurance Advisory Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pete, there's nothing on my end that you need for that appointment, right?
It's not a formal committee, so they don't truly sit on a public body, because even the union designees don't get appointed. They're not getting sworn in, so
Okay,
we had that question. There is no swearing in.
all right, perfect, thank you.
All right. So now, we have to vote on the implementation of process to change health insurance benefits under Mass General Law. So this one, you said there's
There's a two-step
yeah,
motion here. The first is anytime the board wants to utilize chapter 32B, sections 21. In this case, we're only using sections 21 to 22, which is to work with our unions in order to come to an agreement based on the savings that the town is going to realize and how we distribute a portion of that savings. 23 is if the town was to change from the GIT to the GIC. It's specifically in instances where community wants to move to the GIC, you have to use section 23. It's simply an administrative thing saying that this is the way that the board wants to act. There is the ability for you to negotiate, do a friendly union negotiation outside of 21-22. We being Conway, Deerfield, and myself felt that it was most appropriate to utilize 21-22 because we wanted to make sure all three towns were handling the union the same exact way and treating the employees the same exact way. We didn't want one town to go friendly outside of negotiations, which could create a problem on the union negotiating for the other communities.
And in general, the union negotiations are with the four towns in the school district. That
Yes, the only town not.
Whately, Conway, Deerfield, Sunderland negotiate their contracts with the teachers assistants.
Yes. Yeah, well, their union contracts are negotiated together.
Yeah.
Sunderland is not part of this process because they are on Maya, and they are not making a change to their
Oh.
health benefits, which is why I can only reference Conway and Deerfield
Yeah.
for this particular instance. So anytime that we need to do this, the board has to say, yes, we are going to utilize sections 21 and 22. There is a very specific process. I have that I'll outline. I've already gotten it given
Yeah.
along. But we do need you to agree to it so we can do the IAC. And then with that, I'm asking that you then designate who's going to represent the town in the negotiations. Our recommendation is either myself, one board member, so you don't have a quorum, or myself and a board member. And I will be using, or whoever is the representative, should include the town treasurer. The town treasurer collectors would be there for information and be able to provide calculations. But it's the board, you need to designate who you want to actually sign off on the actions for the negotiation.
Yeah.
Well, let's do part one. I move that the board elect to engage in the process to change health insurance benefits under Mass General Law, Chapter 32B, Sections 21 through 23.
Second,
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
then I move that
Is anybody chomping at the bit to be on that?
I'm
No term.
going to designate the town administrator.
I think that might be smart.
I move that the town designate Pete Kane, town administrator, to represent the town of Whately in negotiations with the Public Employee Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Is there any further questions on that item?
No.
Because I know this can be confusing. This happened once, back when we were still in the, center school. And, we actually tripped it without realizing it. And, someone showed up, flew at the board meeting from the school committee and said, you guys just did so. And they realized that we were a bunch of rookies and anyway.
I will obviously keep the board apprised of all the changes that each of the steps that we go through.
Okay,
Essentially, we do need to come to an agreement on the proposal and how our agreement with the union by the end of April. Because we then need to notify all impacted employees, so all of our employees that have health insurance, they need to be notified by May 1st. Of what the change is going to be and how we're mitigating some of that change.
yeah.
Because they have a 60-day. They need to be notified 60 days in advance of when it goes live. It goes live July 1st, so we need to be able to notify them by May 1st.
Okay. All right, so last item on the new business. Review, discuss, and vote to amend the compensation chapter of the personnel policies in order to incorporate the new classifications in compensation plan. Okay, so, yeah, this one.
This is, yeah, do you wanna?
Well, I'll probably do a short summary, you'll fill in all the things. Yeah. Which is our personnel policy. Last year, we did this compensation plan. And we need to update our personnel policy to, give us some specific, specific references to it. So like when you get a new person, how do you put them in at what place and at what steps? Those kind of things are covered in here and, like if you join like June 28th. And then July 1st comes, then no, you don't get the step for that either. So it puts in some just some good policies for how you implement that plan. That make sense?
Yeah.
And I left out obviously all the detail, but it's mostly to make our current policy consistent with having a new wage and compensation plan that we put into effect last year.
What's important is, we do need to designate, or we do need to define how to implement this in order to determine how to impact or how to increase salaries for this coming FY 27 to put it in the budget. So that's why the personnel committee has been working out how, because there was concern about just guaranteeing a step increase every year. So you'll see in the policy, there's actually 3 triggers. It's you're eligible, but you're only eligible if you've held the position for at least 6 months. You had a favorable employee or annual performance review, and that the funding has been appropriated. So one in the appropriation wouldn't happen until town meeting. We would put it into the budget, and as long as town meeting agreed to that, but we would only put in the calculation if the employee had the 6 months and did have the favorable positive performance evaluation each year.
And I think that this might be the place where the performance review is actually in the personnel policy. I don't think it's in the right into that. That was sort of the, I don't know, the handshake agreement we had last year was, yeah, we're gonna put a performance review in there. If we adopt this, you know, this better right sizing the salaries for employees.
And it establishes that the personnel committee
Oh.
defines that performance review process. Not that they're doing it, but just that performance review evaluations are under the guidance of the committee, how we do it. The administering the questions, things like that.
I think, oh, another thing that's in there that I liked is that this also requires the personnel committee to look at things every 3 years. So that we can, if nothing else, keep the institutional memory of what was the reasoning behind this job goes with this level, which we started here because of X, Y, and Z. So, and then those things change, like job descriptions change over time, and so it means we review the job descriptions as well.
We're just having personnel committee staggered when they were looking at, so not looking at all the positions in the same year.
I don't know that that's like written in,
No.
and I don't think it's forbidden either.
Okay,
That might, I was just thinking about the staggering, that'd be a good idea, but we have to kind of set up a rotation.
Yeah,
Or like,
sure.
or it could be
Yeah.
that we prioritize, oh, if a job description's changed in the past year, we do those, and then maybe we look at a few more.
yeah,
That's it.
make it easier for personnel committee so they don't.
Yeah. So, no, like-
The whole
like-
roster. every-
All of a sudden, you get a lot of resignations from the personnel committee.
Right, yeah, right.
Just before, like last year, when we had like this much work.
Oh, yeah.
Subcommittee, really. Anyway.
Looks good.
I accept the motion.
I move that the board approve the changes to the personnel policies as recommended by the personnel committee in order to incorporate the classification and compensation plan.
Second,
Those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Okay, select board liaison, dates. Who wants to start?
I got nothing.
I've got a housing committee. I can get a February 11th meeting, the select board presumptively approved spending $12,000 from the Housing Trust for a soil survey at 268 State Road. It's meeting on Monday. Gets complicated because the different committees. The Housing Committee recommended to the Housing Trust, sure, essentially the same members of
Much overlap, yeah.
much overlap. That we do so, except that we've gotten one bid or one proposal, which came in, I think at 8,900 plus possible extra 2,000 that the firm didn't, that Berkman Design Group didn't think would be necessary, but they put in just in case. Two other firms have now been contacted to get proposals. Not a formal RFP, but
Because it's not a large enough.
because it's not a large enough amount. The Housing Trust authorized also approved the spending of up to 12,000, but pending seeing what, the one proposal that came in seemed perfectly adequate and
Yeah.
which don't answer the one question which is really being asked is, what is the maximum number of housing units that might be put on that stuff? Nonetheless, just in case one of the other two firms came back with some sort of proposal that was more money, but was more inclusive, somehow was more attractive. The Housing Trust has sort of left open the possibility that they might reopen that if it required a higher figure.
Right, because if you change sort of the parameters, it's not fair to the people who
Right.
were
It-
working under the old.
The consensus was it was unlikely that the higher figure would be needed, but just in getting the other two proposals, we want to leave open that possibility. But the money has been approved, it's just on at the next meeting in April, the Housing Committee agreeing to one of the proposals. At that point, that money will be authorized by the Housing Trust, which up to $12,000. According to this morning or today, there's $138,000 in the Housing Trust fund.
Oh, okay. All right. And you got that.
Sorry, it gets confusing
That's
with that
okay.
trust
Sounds
committee
confusing.
and all of that. Who also, when the order, but.
That's why we give it to you. Keep all that stuff straight.
I don't necessarily have nothing, so when you're.
Okay,
I'm done.
Um, keep checking out the Giving Garden mini food pantry in the lobby here. We are meeting again tomorrow and we're starting to get going for this season. I contacted Norse Farms and they are willing to give us again plant starts. Berry and fruit starts, they'll be able to help us out. And we are having a seed starting workshop, I believe,
at the library.
at the library on April 12th at 1 p.m. It's a Saturday, led by our, Sunday rather, led by our very own Amy LaValle Town Clerk. And we're working on other stuff.
I've actually got one of them.
Okay, all right.
South County EMS, there was not a meeting, but the chief has formally sent a letter to Hatfield requesting or saying that
Yeah,
the new policy of South County EMS will be to charge $350 per visit.
per call.
Per call into Hatfield. Had not been, therefore it will be up to Hatfield to approve this at their town meeting, but up to now. In the first half of this year, we had 97 calls into Hatfield and they had one reciprocal call back to us.
Yeah.
So this has been a problem for a while, but the chief sent the letter and Hatfield has received it and Hatfield.
And there was some press. The thing that was
Yeah.
not obvious to me is what will Hatfield do with this? Are they, how obligated are they to pay that fee? And that's kind of,
Well,
that's
the,
TBD, right?
the presumption is if they don't pay the fee, South County EMS will not be going into Hatfield. and those calls will be going unanswered.
That's, yeah,
That is,
pretty
that's for
serious.
Hatfield to determine for their citizens.
great, okay. My two committees are just going on, we're just keep trudging through, answering questions, finding out new questions, finding out more information on the possible use of 112 Amherst Road as a senior center. There's more walkthroughs coming up. There's the town forum for more information next Thursday at Frontier. Next Thursday being, there's a number of days other. Next Thursday is the 19th at Frontier. It will not be in the auditorium at Frontier, it'll be in the cafeteria. There's another group who really needed the auditorium. So we said, okay, our group is smaller than your group. We'll go to the cafeteria. So it'll be comfy, cozy, and I don't know, maybe somebody will bring cupcakes. Oh, yeah, I know. So that's happening, and then there's just always like meetings and phone calls and emails. And somebody had this question and we're trying to find more information. So each time we do one of these, we try and update the information that's going on. The other important meeting is on March 30th. There'll be 3 towns who use SCEMS, and South County Senior Center are having a big meeting of all the finance committees and all the select boards. And I think it starts at 6 o'clock. 6 to 7, they expect to be talking about SCEMS, and 7 to 8, they expect to be talking about South County Senior Center.
What's the
So
date?
that's March 30th. It's a Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm now gonna check my calendar, make sure I have the right, yes.
Got that.
And this is, I think, a chance for people out there to make it known to the committees of all the towns, how you feel about those two enterprises, about South County EMS and about South County Senior Center. Are these things that you value? Then I think you should come and speak up. Because that's the only way people know whether you're interested or not, is if you show up and speak up. And you can also show up by Zoom, because we can see the Zoom screen, we can see, all the names of the people who are on there, and you have an equal right to have your public, comment at the beginning of any meeting. And that's the time to let your local officials know. So the other committee I'm on that's really active right now is the Cable Franchise Negotiating Committee, and we have a meeting this Friday afternoon. And from the little emails I get copied on between Bill and John and Steve. Steve is our representative of Comcast, Bill is our attorney, and John is our station manager. Their stuff is happening. They're actually, they might have an engineer to figure it out how we'll write it right now. I don't think that's changed. And so we're gonna have some progress. I don't know if it'll be a final deal, but we're getting closer each meeting. We make progress, and that's better than, say, the previous, like before December. I really felt like those meetings were not making much progress. But we've got a different rep from Comcast now, and I think that has really helped. So that's it for me.
Just a few items. We received word last week that the governor put in their authorization for the Chapter 90 program funding, and Whately, the apportionment for FY 27 is $245,271. It's still pending legislative approval.
Is that similar to what we got last year, or just?
I believe it's an increase, but
It's an increase, but okay.
I realized I hadn't pulled last year's number, but
Okay.
my understanding is it is a slight increase.
Okay.
The comprehensive plan project is moving along steadily with the FERCog. 3 more sections of the plan, I actually think we're up to 4 now, are going to be brought to you for your review on the 25th. The drafts I did email those out. they will be in the packet materials again, but
Sure.
feel free to review them. They're pretty short. There's a chapter for open space because there is the open space plan. The others are technical memos, still going into concerns, issues, and recommendations.
Okay, I like that you said they're fairly short.
Yeah, there's 4 of them, but. Take them in parts. The Deerfield Dirt Road. I'm gonna try to say it.
Randonnée.
Right, how do you say
Yeah,
it?
you're the.
Rondon Bay.
Randonnée.
Rondon Day will be taking place on Saturday, August 22nd. It is a self-guided recreational bike. That should say bike ride, not ride riad.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Wow.
It's organized by the Franklin Land Trust. It's their 12th annual. There are staggered start times. They are all starting from the Franklin County Fairgrounds at Greenfield, starting between 6 and 10 a.m. Most of the riders will finish between 2 and 8 p.m. and they will be going through a number of different towns, including Whately. And then the trustees have approved a contract with Jamrock to replace their mini splits at the building. And they are currently working on getting quotes to rekey the locks on the building. They realized that there were a number of unaccounted for keys now just with different trustees over the years.
Yeah.
So they are rekeying the building and then they're still trying to secure a pricing for the the new community room downstairs. And the solar project here at the town offices, the installation started Monday. You might have noticed it's not quite discernible, but the racking system has been installed. Everything on the south side, I believe the north side is still to be, or they're in process on the north side. The rack system should be finished by the end of this week, and then they will install the solar panels themselves. That should take about 2 weeks. We haven't received the solar panels yet, so that might not happen starting on Monday. But as soon as they come in, it will then be a 2-week process to install all of the panels. And then we'll start going through the interconnection process, but if you can start to see activity finally happening. And we've been hearing.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, my goodness.
It's so bad, but they were on this side.
Really not in the middle?
Yeah,
Because-
today. So we were like,
Loud.
Yeah.
I've got one question. I remember that some meeting, the building superintendent commented about,
Water.
pointed out
Oh.
a leak.
Is
that-
Roof leak. Has that been dealt with?
That
before?
the only issue, it's right around the seam where the metal hits the foyer entries portion of the building. He hasn't gotten price quotes for that, but it has no impact on where the solar panels are going. So the solar panels can go in without impacting or making it impossible.
Okay, because it did.
Yeah. That issue-
The leak is being dealt with.
Yeah.
And there's no impact.
Independent.
No,
And,
Yeah.
correct.
okay, just want
Yeah.
to make sure.
Okay,
Yeah, but yeah, good progress, thankfully.
great.
And not on here, but I will be out on vacation starting tomorrow until through next Thursday and back working again on Friday. Jess is prepared, gotten everything pretty well set up for next week. I will be available by text or email if you need anything. But yeah, feel free to reach out, but otherwise I won't be here in the building.
Okay,
Have fun.
yeah.
yeah, I'm fine.
Going to Mexico City.
Jacob.
It's supposed to be safe around there right now. And, the
Yeah.
cartels, but thankfully the cartels aren't active in Mexico City, so I think we're okay.
Well, next week we could be bombing.
I know, I keep getting
At this
nervous
point.
about things.
Yes.
Okay, and our next meeting by ourselves is the 25th, and with the finance committee is next week. And then April 1st,
Yes.
then things start to.
And
And it's-
March 30th.
There is the March
And the March
30th, not
30th.
on
Right.
here,
Yeah,
but
the
yeah.
March 30th.
And where
meeting.
is that?
That's gonna be in Deerfield's town offices.
Okay.
They were perceived to have the largest space. I think that might actually be true. I think Sunderland's space is similar to the size of this room,
Yeah.
but theirs is substantially bigger than either. So
And that is, that's.
it starts at 6 with Skims. I won't get there till 7. So if there's any formal opening of the meeting and you know, you or Fred will have to open it. And I teach till 6:30, so. I'm gonna burst in at 7. You'll have to fill me in on the Skims discussion because I'll miss that.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor?
Aye.
hi,
Aye.
so
All right, very good.